you're doing a presentation. And I'm sure a lot of you have seen these steps. You've seen us do home BPMs before, so we want to. So when you first come in, when you first start, you want to launch the video, which is on Vimeo, and if you need that information, we can provide that to you as well. So it basically will show the super trip, the next one that's coming up, the one that passed, that was Italy. Then we launch into the WSB community, which is our Facebook page. So you want to open that up and show them some of the stories of the people that are currently part of the community and what they're doing to help the community. What I do is I have saved a few of the stories off. So I don't know if you guys know how to do that. I can show you if you don't know how to do it. But when you look at one of the testimonials on there, you can literally click on the top right and you can save that particular testimonial. So instead of when you're sitting in a home BPM, instead of scrolling through the pages, trying to find something to show the potential of the member, you want to have something ready. So for me, there is one that is impactful. There's a teacher that has never learned any of this information. So she grabbed hold of our cause and she goes out and teaches. So she joined the cause and she teaches as well. There's another one where there is a 18-year-old who joined the company and he received $300,000 in scholarship money. So just a few of those you may want to have ready. The third
sorry. Could you mute? Could you admin mute all the lines for me?
Okay.
Thanks.
Okay. The next one is the Saving Your Future book, which is the cause. You just need to pick out a few highlights from there. Basically, knowing who the person is you're speaking to. Okay, sorry about that. Basically, whoever you're speaking to, you should know the person. So what you want to do is pick out 3 different areas within the Saving Your Future book that you want to speak to them about. So for me, a big one is 401k. So I tend to go pull up that information. I pull up the 10-20 rule, things that are impactful for the person that you're speaking to. Then you want to go over the Financial Foundation workbook. So talk about what you've learned by attending the workshops, because we all should be attending all of the workshops. That will help you in your business because you're able to speak about what it is that we're actually teaching and letting them know that the workshops are free to the public. Next, we go into the green flip chart, which talks about the state of our society and why change is needed. So you basically go through the flip chart, and then you talk about why we go to the testimonials, which is what's your story? Why did you join the cause? What is your why? So we usually ask a couple people. So when we do home BPMs, we like some of the team members to be there for people to come up and talk about why they joined, because that's impactful when somebody is listening to you as to why you joined, and it may resonate with them as well. Then you go into the Finance 101 card, which is our survey, and we ask them to fill that out to get their feedback. So we all know that the survey card is really our business. So the survey card tells them if they if they want to do the business, if they want to have a solution. So we get that based on the last, from 9 to 12 is when we get those. So we're able to talk about trying to get them to join our campaign. And then the next steps is the closing, which is if they want to be part of the campaign, they want to teach, then we give them a pin. And then if they want to join, then we give them the AMA to complete. We also go through the workshop schedule so they know that there are workshops available. And then if they want a solution, then we attempt to do the PFS, or we schedule a PFS meeting, personal financial strategy meeting, within 24 to 48 hours after the BPM is held. And that's pretty much it. Does anybody have any questions about that? I think you guys can unmute yourselves if you need to. No questions? Okay. So that's pretty much what we've been doing lately. We've basically been using the 7 step. If you're doing a one-on-one, if you're doing a webinar with somebody, we're doing a lot of webinars for people. We're doing this. We're basically 7-stepping now. That way we have consistency between how we're doing presentations, and then the whole team can have consistency as well. Nothing? Okay.
All right. Question to everyone on the line. Is this the first time you're seeing the 7 steps?
Hi, this is Hilda from Palm Coast.
Hi, Hilda.
Yes, it is the first time.
Okay. Great. I'm glad you chimed in. So Hilda, what the 7 steps are is it's systemizing how to really connect with a prospect, a person that you're trying to show that you're trying to show the intrigue into the business. It's just a basically like Bonnie just said. One is a WSB super trip, and going through that flow, it starts to make sense to them. If you look at the picture on the left hand side, you'll see the step 1, the conversation plan. What are we doing? We're traveling. Like Bonnie said, the WSB community. Why is that so important? Or the Facebook community, rather. Why is that so important? Simply because it's not just one person. It's a lot of us doing this and so on. I don't need to reiterate everything she went through, but that's the first step to actually gain intrigue. So the 7th step is how to get a member on board or to actually get a client if they're interested in becoming a client. The next step is step number 2, which is understanding your client, which is a personal financial strategy. And I'm going to get into that. Seems like my Excel is trying to do something kind of wonky right here. So Bonnie, you can stop sharing your screen. I'll share mine. Okay. So all you guys can see my screen? Yes? Thumbs up? Yes, you can see it? No, you can't?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. All right, so the next step is the personal financial strategy, and that is really, really important. It's the lifeblood of our business. What happens is, it's funny, I was talking to one of our members today, and he's like, well, I went on Facebook, I went online, and I was Googling the company, and what I found is that clients, they have some issues where there's agents selling policies to quote-unquote low-income families, and when they cancel the policy, they are stuck and not able to get their money back. And we kind of talked through that point, which when I asked him was, do you think that's a company issue? There's something wrong with the company, or is it a bad agent issue? All right, and it boils down to the agent issue. If the agent is not properly educating a client, if the agent does not know the client, then there's no proper protection being offered. So, that's a compliance issue to begin with. That's something that needs to be addressed. If it's happening within our organization, my organization, then that's definitely something I'm going to address. But once you understand the client, you're going to go through what's called a dime and timeline. The dime and timeline is simply, it's two different steps. Step 1 is understanding what the client's needs are. What is their debt? All right. You do that for both the husband and wife. When you meet a client, you want to get in front of that person and the most influential person in their life. If they're married, if they have a spouse, they're cohabitating, whatever the case may be. You want to sit down with both of them and understand what their debt is, right? What's their income? Rather 10 times their debt. So rather 10 times their income. Why? Because you need the 10-20 rule, which we'll get into a little later, is very important. You need 10 times your income to keep you in the manner in which you're accustomed now to sustain your lifestyle. You need 20 times your income for retirement. Mortgage, how much mortgage is left on the home if they own a home? And are they saving for educational expenses? As this is actually in your Saving Your Future book, right? If you haven't seen that before, you can actually get, well, I think it's page 29 if I'm not mistaken, but sorry, page 31. It's in your Saving Your Future book, right? The dime. So you have to be able to properly understand the dime and write that up. It's very simple to put in. What is my debt? Oh, I have $10,000 in debt. What's my income? I make $20,000 times 10 times 20,000. So I have $200,000 with my $10,000 of debt. What's my mortgage? I have $110,000 left in my mortgage, right? Education, no, I'm not saving for education right now. You total that number right there where it says total responsibility. right? What do you minus from there? Do I have any current life insurance? Oh yes, I have something through my job, 1 times my salary. Okay, then I subtract that number from the total responsibility, and then I have the total protection needed. That is the number, ladies and gentlemen, that you need to be writing for the client. Nothing else, right? It's not you're not, you don't, here's what happens. Oftentimes what happens in our business is we tend to write business for the client based on what we're doing for ourselves. Zig Ziglar says it best. He says it's very difficult to think outside of your current status, right? If I've never made $1 million, I can't tell you how to make $1 million. If I make $50,000, I can only talk to you in a $50,000 mindset. You have to do what's right for the client. That's what you're comfortable with. When I first started on, I kind of had the poverty mindset. The poverty mindset was, I know they're going through a situation right now. They probably can't afford this. So I'm going to tell the client, hey, listen, you just need to get $50,000 so at least you get something. And that was wrong. I wasn't doing my client any justice, any services by giving the wrong information, right? So when you explain that to the client, you go right down here to financial foundation. And again, this is in your Saving Your Future book, this one, page 6, where it talks about, investments, right? What is that? It talks about your financial foundation. What is that? Well, obviously, first you need to properly protect yourself in the event of a disability, health problems, or premature death. Then what? Then you should reduce your liability to get yourself out of debt. And then you should have at least 3 to 6 months of your income to deal with sudden changes in your job losses, we know that's common, or unforeseen accidents and repair. And then we can start to invest for the long run, right? This is what you reiterate to the client, and you open up your Saving Your Future book, show them page 6, have them actually read it to themselves or read it aloud below the foundation so they can understand, oh, you know what, this makes sense. I get it. I see why I'm putting these numbers here. I see why I need to get protection first, the insurance first. What is the client's current age? Client says, I'm 30 years old. What is your projected retirement age? Oh, I want to retire at 35. Great. So you have 35 years between now and when you want to retire. Would you say, what's your monthly expenses? Well, my monthly expenses is $2,500. Well, if I multiply that times 12, what do I have? I have $30K in annual income. That may not be their annual income, but you can say, how much do you make per month? How much your income is per month, right? How many years you multiply that number times the amount of years they have left to retire. How many years they have left to retire? Remember we said they have 35 years? And their annual income times 35 years, again, it gives you the total the total protection needed, right? So this is where you'll get that salary number again, and this is the number that you're going to put into an illustration once you start to write business. Now, we're getting into the timeline portion of this. This is where we are here. And why is the timeline so important? Because it gets to help people create a goal. What is a goal? Why are you working? What are you working towards? Right? What is your retirement age? How much money do you need between now and your retirement age? Some people want to retire in 10 years. That's fantastic. What's your monthly expenses? Well, my monthly expense is $2,500. Okay, so that means annually my monthly expense is $30,000. If I want to retire in 10 years, that means I need to get my hands on $300,000. 10 years from my retirement year times my expenses. That's what I need to get my hands on in order to retire. If I were to get my hands, so then I look at the client and I say, Mr. Client, Mr. and Mrs. Client, if you were to be able to get your hands on the $300,000 in the next couple of years, invariably that means you can retire in 2 years. Would that make sense? Yes, that does make sense. Okay. It's getting them to think in a goal perspective. That's where the timeline comes into play. So you have the client's age, then their retirement year in the middle here, right? And then you have the life expectancy. You have 85 for males, 87 for females. You don't have to memorize the number. You can just have 85 as life expectancy here. So you know the differences between the current age and the retirement age. That's how much they need to generate to retire. After that number, between their quote-unquote retirement age, let's say it's 65, and life expectancy 85, that's another 20 years that they need to generate the amount that for their expenses. And this line here is going to show you how much you have to save per month to actually get to that rate of return, to get to that. And the illustration will be able to give you that number as well. So why do we have this portion here? So let me get into the compliance aspect of things. This says, I certify. This is to certify that we, my husband and wife, understand that we need to X amount of dollars in coverage, which we get from the total savings needed, or the total protection needed rather, in coverage to be properly protected. At this time, we can comfortably save, and we're going to go through obviously how much they can possibly save per month to start my own plan. Now, the reason this is important and for them to sign off on this once you go through the illustration is because 2 to 3 years from now, when Mr. and Mrs. Client is going through a review, or they sit down with a financial professional, financial advisor, and they say, Mrs. Client, why do you only have $100,000 in insurance when you make $40,000? That means you should have 10 times your $40,000. Why is there a shortfall of $300,000? Well, I don't know. My agent told me to do this. Well, how did your agent come up with that number? I don't know. Mr. Agent, you have done your client a disservice. Mr. Agent, you are up for review. This is common in the insurance business. It's common in the investment business. You have to do what's suitable for your client. And I guarantee you, you're not going to remember what you did 3 months ago, let alone 3 years ago. We actually had someone removed from the business. I won't get into the details of that because their license was up for review and what they're doing for their client, right? A lot of the securities advisors in this business will tell you they can tell you how many countless, especially in WSG and other businesses, how many agents have been up for review, and they couldn't tell you why they came up with the number, where it came from, why they created it. If a client comes back to you in 6 months and say, look, I don't know why I'm paying this insurance, the numbers don't make sense to me. You have this signature, you have this in the client's file. And even if you choose not to move forward or the client chose not to move forward, this is in your file for your records. All right, so does that make sense, everyone? Yes, nod? Yes, no? Perfect. Okay, the next step is the 4-step solution. And the 4-step solution, what this is you have to know your client, right? Back to the PFS and Diamond Timeline. What was the PFS and Diamond Timeline? PFS is the personal financial strategy. How do we get the number? How do we understand how much money we need to use to protect the client? We went through their debt. We went through their dime, their debt, their income, their mortgage, educational savings, if they needed that. And that got us to step number 1. I know my client, therefore I know how much protection I need to provide to that client. So step 1 is that 4-step box, right? Step 2, know your proposal. Know your proposal simply means, what am I offering the client? What is their number? Well, I covered that over here because I went through the timeline. So I know what the number is. But in addition to that, here's a sample proposal. This is what has really simplified how this all works. Let's assume sample 1 is client sitting in front of me. Client says, okay, based on what we've done, I want to properly be able to protect myself. So I'm able to save, $15 a month, right? Or whatever the case may be. Let's say I can save $18 a month. All right, Mr. Client, if you can save $18 a month, then if I do my math correctly, $18 a day, if I do my math correctly, times 30 days, times 12 months, that's about $6,400. But let's say, for instance, we're going to do a protection here for $6,000 annually, which is $500 a month, right? Because they understand the need for proper protection. If this particular client is vested, let's say client is 30 years old. For this illustration, he's invested the money in the Index Universal for 35 years. The withdrawal or the tax-free withdrawal at that point in time, or the total amount invested in 35 years, will be $210,000. Right? Where did that math come from? That $210,000, right? If you divide that by 35 years, what do you have? $6,000 a year. That's what the client invested. Does that make sense? Yes? So far? Good. Now, what is the benefit of an index? It has growth. Obviously, it has safety, tax advantage, and protection. This is all something we're familiar with. What's the growth? Up to 15%. That's the ceiling. What is the safety? That means when the market goes below 0, the stock market, stocks, bonds, mutual funds go below 0, at least you get a credit of 0.75%. So, Mr. and Mrs. Client, you have growth and safety. Again, here's where I'm going to pause here. This is where you should be going through pages 76 to pages 78. What do pages 76 to page 78 in this book says? I'm not going to read it because I know for a fact you have that book and you all have read it. All right? It talks about 1, Managed growth. When you talk about managed growth, it's instrumental. When you actually read, if you were to sit in front of this client and read, I'll just go through managed growth really quickly. It says, how do you win the money game? If money were a game, many of us would be losing. Making big income does not necessarily mean that you're going to win. That's something important for a high net client to hear because they think that they probably don't need your services. Millions are drowning in a sea of debt. Bankruptcies don't just happen to the working poor, it befalls people from all walks of life. Hint, hint, something that will perk their ears up at that point. Some people make a lot, but they may spend a lot too. Others make big bets when the market is hot and shy away when the market is undervalued. I'm going to wrap it up here. They lose and don't know why they lose. And those who win don't oftentimes know why they win. If they knew, they would continue to do what makes them win and avoid what makes them lose. Lack of knowing how money works is the main cause of losing the money game. Important to understand. What does this do? Again, lends credibility to the understanding. Growth and safety is the next thing that it gets into, and I won't read that. I'll let you guys read that. But pages 76 and 78 is when you pull that out and read it to your client when you're going through these boxes for your proposal. Now, this is something that you're going to draw out a box because that same box is on page 77, right? Growth, safety, tax advantage, and proposal. Now, when you draw this box out on a piece of paper in front of your client, what does it mean? Well, the growth is 15%, Mr. Client or Mrs. Client. The safety is 0.75%. But let's get into the tax advantages. What's the tax advantage? You have, with this illustration that we provided and the amount of protection we need, your tax deferred growth is $650,000. Where did that number come from? That tax deferred growth, you will see that number in your cash surrender, quote unquote, cash surrender line, right? But you can actually pull out. The tax-free loan that you can get, the tax-free loan was also there, and the tax-free loan is something that you will see, excuse me, the tax-free loan is something that you will see on the contribution. That's how much you've put in. You divide that $210,000 by the amount of years vested, the 35 years, and that is your tax-free loan, right? That's money you've put in. You can actually put that back out. Your tax-free withdrawal, $915,000. Again, that's the compound interest of the cash value that has grown in the account. You add those two numbers together, the tax-free loan and the tax-free withdrawal that you have at your disposal, and you have $1.1 million, Mr. Client. That's the tax advantages of actually having an index. What is my protection? Well, the policy yielded enough to have a coverage of $500,000 to $1.1 million. If there's absolutely no growth, your family gets the benefit of $500,000. Or if you don't pull any money at that point, full death benefit is there. What you also have is tax-free long-term care. How much is that, Mr. Agent, or Mr. and Mrs. Agent? Well, that is a maximum of 2% of the death benefit. The reason I don't have a number here in the tax-free long-term care because it's based on how much growth you have in that account. You guys are still with me? Yes or no? Questions? Okay, very good. Bonnie, you want to get into the easy start? I'll stop sharing my screen. And I think you're still muted, B.
You guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay. So just so you guys know and you're not freaking out, the last page, I know some of you have not done illustrations, so you have no idea what we're talking about and where those numbers are coming from. So not to worry, we'll be working with you so you get it. And I just want to say about the box, what he just showed is, if you look on the Facebook page, you'll see how many people are actually implementing this. It was basically given to us on 3/15, so last Thursday. And people have gone out and started using those boxes because it's a lot faster than running an illustration and sitting and trying to explain through the illustration. When you do the boxes and you show them that you're meeting growth, safety, tax advantage, and protection, then it's easier for them to visualize. So people are literally doing these illustrations, they're doing these boxes in 10 minutes and able to get through and write a lot of solutions. So I just want to mention that. The next thing that we were trained on Tuesday is called Easy Start. So coach was saying that fast start is not necessarily fast, it's a little bit difficult. So he put together the easy start. So this is the typical fast start. This is what we need to get done when you're fast starting a new campaigner. So when you bring somebody on to your team, a new recruit, you need to meet the spouse, do their PFS, which is the dime method Wendell just showed you. They're going to do their 3-3-30 to get their promotion. They're going to provide their share list. They're going to go out and do field training, whether it be one-on-one or home BPMs, and sharing Saving Your Future books. And then, of course, submitting for licensure. So the easy start is now called easy start versus fast start. Basically, when you bring somebody on, you're going to say to them, what would you do if you have an extra five or 10,000 hours a month? What I did is I changed this to really say 3,000 to 5,000 a month. A lot of people can't visualize making that much money, so it's better when we keep the numbers at a more manageable level. People understand better. And you say, I can show you how to do it in 30 days. In fact, I can even show you in the next 7 days, which we would call a 730. It's so easy. So what you do is you sit down the person with them and their wife, or if it's just them alone, and you say, let me go through with your spouse and yourself and tell me if you can do it. You basically go through the 7th step, which is what I talked about when we first came on. And then you go through the 4th step, which is what Wendell just showed. And you say to them for the 7th step, you say, can you push the button? Which is basically showing them the videos, the travel video. And then you show them a Facebook page. Can you talk a little bit about the Facebook page? So you're just basically showing the new person how simple it is to be able to do this. So you're going to show them the 7th step BPM. You're going to show them the 4th step. And then you say, let's do it, let's plan. And the goal is to, in the first 7 days, you want to work with that person at least 3 times. So you want to get home BPM set up or one-on-one appointments set up, and you go with them. You show them how to do the 7th step and the 4th step. And then after the first week, let's say, if you still go out with them for the rest of the days, let's say the remaining 23 days, and let them present. So they're with their trainer, which is you, and they're able to do it with you. And if they run into a question or a hang up or whatever, you're there to help them. So the goal is really to show the new person how easy this is, and going through it, showing them 3 times at least how to do it, how you do it, and then let them basically repeat what you're doing for themselves with you holding their hand. Let's see. So the items on here are really covered between number 5, which is the field training home BPM. This is covered when you're doing the easy start. The MD club qualification and the top the share list, that's covered as well, because when you set up your times to meet with people, you're working on your 3-3-30 or 5-5-30. You're working on your share list, right? Because you have to have a share list in order to know who you need to invite and who you need to set up a home BPM with. Let's see, number 5, I'm looking at a list I have. Number 4 is covered. Number 2, so number 2 is already covered because you're doing the 4th step that Wendell just showed you. And then what you do is after they get through the first week, sign them up to start studying. So a week later, they should begin studying. So you don't want them to be studying and trying to do everything at one time. You really want them to really understand the 7th step and the 4th step, and then get them to start studying after that. By the time they finish in the 30 days, they could literally be at 45% or at 62%, which is MD level, because you're basically building your team while you're studying. And that's what we try to explain to you guys too. You don't have to be licensed to recruit and bring people onto your team. You bring the people onto your team, we will work with you guys, we will work with your new team members to help while you're studying. So by the time you get done studying, you could be at 45%, you could be at 62% by the end of the 30 days. So any questions on that? Adele, I don't know if you want to chime in if I missed anything.
No, I think you covered quite a bit. I'm not able to control your screen, but just like Bonnie says, if it's maybe sound like you guys are getting a lot of information, but it's pretty cut and dry. In fact, once you go through the training for the Trello, you'll be able to gain access to these documents. But it's if you pop open this Excel and you're sitting in front of a client, you can get the business. It's very simple, but yeah, I think you covered everything with the 7-step duplication.
Yeah, don't think you guys have to memorize all this. I mean, this is new information that Coach just put out, so we'll work with you so you understand what needs to be done. It's really simple once you start doing it. You're like, oh, I can do this. But I know a lot of people are new, so it's going to be a little bit of a learning curve, especially trying to do an illustration and being able to get all that information. All right, so let me just pull up Trello. Okay, so next we're going to talk about Trello. Can you see my screen?
It's in flux.
Okay.
You can probably stop sharing, yeah. And while you're doing that, if you're not already licensed, don't be don't be overwhelmed by this. The easy start, the one that Bonnie just went over, is the most important one to you because it's helping you build during the studying process. And again, that's something that I'll be able to assist you. And Xavier, I saw your message. 7 is tough. I'm replying to that, but I got you. You can look at my text message.
Okay. Can you guys see my screen?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay. All right. So what we're doing now, I was put onto this by another WSB member that's in New Jersey, and he is not part of our team. He is Keon. I don't know if you guys know who that is. But Keon has been sort of promoting Trello a little bit, and I actually got on a call with him, and he walked me through how they're using Trello. So this is awesome to me because I can put all of the people that are active on our team into this, and you guys can manage this information. So for me, why I love this is because I have like 3 notebooks on my desk, and I have information in different places. And I have like 100 sticky notes of who's doing what or what I need to follow up on and all of that. So what Trello does is Trello is a project management type software where, to me, it's like little sticky notes on your screen. But what I've done is I've created a page for each person. So what we have is each person has their own page, and then we have a team win board. So let me show you one as an example. Let me do mine. And everybody has one. So what you need to do, by the way, is download Trello on your computer so you can access it, and then send me when you get your Trello ID, send it to me, like your email, and I will link you to your board. And then another thing is download it on your phone because you can manage Trello from your phone as well. And let me show you why that's important. So what we have here is the welcome board. So you can click on this, and this gives the new campaigner information, right? So it talks to them about the different welcoming to the team, talking about joining our Facebook community, talking about starting a share list, and then the companies that this is Aegon, Transamerica, WFG, and World System Builder. There is a soft copy of the Saving Your Future book in English and Spanish. You can use this book, however, we don't want you sending it out to anybody. Right, this is for your own use. This one talks about Coach. This one talks about how to set up your WFG. So when you are new, you have to set up your WFG to be able to log in and get all your information. You can come down here. You can order fast start kits from here. There's a link. This is the information on how to register for studying and how to set up your state exam, right? And I need to update this because some people are in Georgia We have people in California. So this is only Florida right now. I need to go and update this. I just wanted to show you guys. So basically it tells you what you need to do, where to go, find out from us what the code is to get it at either $14.95 or $15 or $19.95. And then once you take your exam and pass, or once you do all that, then you schedule your exam. You go to Pearson View, and then there's another page, which is on the team page that talks about when you pass your exam, what you need to do. The flip chart is here on your page. The 7-step VPN is on your page. How to set up a business plan is there. How to order your agenda book. How to order workbooks. How to order blue books. How to order survey cards, buttons, shirts, all of that stuff. And the CEO program that we have right now. And then locations where there is WSB offices. So this is all generic information for you guys that it should be quick information that you can access. We also have the campaigner share list. So what this is when on my page, what this is anybody that this is your share list. So what you need to do is go in here and put your people in. So you put your person's name and their phone number, email, and how you met. And then if you share the Save in Your Future book, you can check this. And if you need to follow up when you share your book, within 24 to 48 hours, you can check that. And then you can track your call log. Like if you call them, left them a voicemail message, any comments you want to make, you can put it in there. Once you fill it out, if you need to follow up, like this person I need to follow up with. So what I did is I just took the card and moved it. So you can move your card. So I took this, I have her information in here, I called her, and I'm going to follow up with her in 3 months. She's sort of non-responsive. So the topics that you have is called, follow up with, not interested, if you had a Zoom meeting with them, if they didn't show up for a meeting, if you did an AMA or a PFS with them, which is the associate member agreement, or you did a personal financial strategy with them, and if they're enrolled in workshop. So you can literally move their card or create multiple cards and put it under these headings. So this is your own personal. I recommend everybody go in here and put their share list in here. That way you can keep track of what's going on. And if you need help with something, you can always reach out to me because I have access to these and say, I need you to contact this person, or can you help me with this person? And the information is already in there for you. Wendell, you have any comments on this at all?
A couple. So Trello, it's, there's one or two things. There's one or two ways to look at this. You can either look at it with the, I don't think there's any pessimists on the line, but with the, there's another thing for me to learn. Or you can look at this and say, well, I need to track my business. You can't have a business or grow a business if you don't know where you're going. If you can't track where you've been or what's happening. It's the pain points of every new starter, right? If we're moving from a place of, the employee to the employer, think of it this way. If this was your job, this would be your 9 to 5 task. You have to understand how your back office works. You have to understand what your clients are, our business. Our only inventory is people. Your share list is your only inventory. You don't have a share list, you don't have a business. You don't have a license, you can't make money. There's some simplified things here. Trello is great in the sense of if you want to track what's going on. How many times have I followed up with a client? If you don't follow up with a client at least 8 times, you're not getting that business, right? If you got the client on the first try, you consider yourself lucky, right? That's not common. So at least a minimum of 8 times. How do you know when you followed up with them? What conversation did you have with them? Were they interested? Did they say, hey, listen, I'm busy right now? Everyone's life changes about every 6 to 9 months, right? How do you know you reached out to that client and what they said then? In addition to that, sometimes I know some of you guys want to get on my calendar, my schedule. I will be posting my calendar. It will be updated by the minute, but at least by 24 to 48 hours on Trello, right? So you're able to actually view that on the Team Win site. If you call me or you send me a message, I may not be able to respond because I'm in a meeting, but at least you can say, you know what? I have someone I want Wendell to meet or someone to talk to. Let me jump on here and see what his calendar looks like for next Tuesday. And, let me talk to my person since I have my prospect in front of me and say, hey, you know what, next Tuesday works? I sent Wendell a message, hey, I know you're free next Tuesday. I need you to meet John Smith, right? So this is the tool to keep track of your business. That's all I got. Go ahead.
Okay, so another thing we probably want to do is if we need to start using this and that, and you know, I'm thinking about on the when I was talking to Keon, what they do is when they have their weekly meetings, they go through the board. So that way, if there's anything that needs to be discussed, we can talk about it at that time as well, right? If there are people that need to be followed up on or anything like that. So for me, this is really helpful because I was tracking my share list on a sheet of paper, right, or in a notebook. So doing it here, I can look at it and you can control it from your phone. So if you need to add somebody to your share list, you can put it into your phone because you have the app on your phone and it'll update here as well. So any questions on this? And if you feel like there's categories that maybe we need to add that you would think would be helpful, let me know. What I would have to do is go in and add it to each person. But if you find there's something you think that we're missing, let me know. We can talk about it and possibly add it on to each person's page. So no questions on this. Okay. So as you can see, go back here. Everybody has a page right now. These are actually the active people. So we have a ton of people that are not really active. So I didn't waste my time creating one for each person. So as they come back around, because we have people that come back around, I'll add new people onto here. Then we have the team win board. So this is the team board. So this board has the same information on the left-hand side. It also talks about, well, it's the same information, sorry. This is when you have campaigners. So when you bring on a new campaigner, come into the team win and put your campaigner. So the difference is this says new campaigners, the other one says share list contact or something like that. So if you click on here, this has put the new campaigner's name, their code, their phone number, their email address. A lot of times I have to reach out to you guys or start digging because when you add somebody, we don't get the information. So I have to say, can you email me your information? Or if that's in here, I don't have to do that. The Fast Start Tracker. So this is for you guys to manage as well. When you have a new campaigner, this walks you through what you need to do with the new person. Complete the AMA so you can check the box if it's done and see how it marks it off. Do their share list, get them set up for licensing, meet their spouse, get your Fast Start kit, download Trello, download Zoom, download the WFG site, Pulse on your phone, set up your WFG account, set up your website if you want to, do your PFS. Did you do their PFS? Did they do their their AMA? And so they're 330. Did they pass their exam? And then they need to get appointed, right? When they bring on people, your campaigners, you can add them here, right? And then did they go through the training for Bolt, NetLaw, Legacy Shield, HIFI? This is very good, the product training. If you click on this, can you guys see this screen, the YouTube page?
No.
No?
Share your whole screen, not just that one thing.
Okay, so that link takes you to here. This is something that Keon put together, but this is talks about Transamerica, it talks about Bolt, it talks about NetLaw, it talks about Legacy Shield, it talks about HIFI, Everest. It talks about different types of life insurance. What's Transamerica Universal Life? What is term? What is IUL? What is a VUL? Then some how to sell a product, how to use Trello, things like that. So this is very, for especially new people, I would go through these. These are going to be a lot of questions you're going to be asking, you're going to want to know. This information is here for you guys. Go back to here. Okay. So that's down here in the product training. and you can check off when they've gone through each of these. Complete the workshops. So they need to make sure that the workshops, that they're attending all the workshops. And we're doing a $300 license reimbursement. So if they complete their membership, if they do their share list, they do 5 home VPNs or 10 field training appointments in person or online. They pass their exam and get appointed, and then they do their 330, then they'll get a $300 reimbursement from us. After they pass the state exam, these are all the steps that need to be done. So I put this here because this is for people that have joined. So these are for members. So they need to make sure that they hit all these. So before we gave you guys a Word document, and a lot of people did half of it and then forgot what else needed to be done. So everything is here. So you need to go through step by step and get those done for your new person, or send them here to theirs and get them to complete it, and then check it off as they get it done. So it talks about what you need to do to get appointed with the different companies, how to set up your direct deposit, how to set up your E&O, how to apply for non-resident licensing. So if you have people in another state and you want to do business with those people, you have to get licensed in those other states as well. And then you can move your card. So if they completed their fast start, or you can add their name here. These are the people that have hit MD Club so far. So as people hit their MD Club, which is the 45%, we add them into, I'm going to add you into here. If they're running for the CEO program and they hit the blue shirt, we'll add their name in here. And the next level up is the red shirt. And then this is the upcoming event. So the convention is in July in San Jose. So they're pushing convention right now because I think the price for the tickets may go up starting April 1st. Right now the tickets are $150 to attend convention for those days. So that information is here. Any questions on this? So member information goes here. The other page is for your prospecting. So if we separate it that way. So when you have prospects, once they join and become members, you can add them into here and just complete this information. And then I will check it as well. So if there's things that need to be done, then I can help with that as well. Wendell, you have anything?
Yeah, before I start asking questions or open up the bridge for questions, I know we've covered quite a few things tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Let's kind of, to re-simplify everything that you've heard tonight, it's break it down in two folds. One is knowing your client, and two is knowing your business. What we went over first iteration outside of Trello, is knowing your client. So, you know, the 7th step, which is walking through that all process of how to get someone on board. The easy start, which used to be fast start, which is when I get that person on board, what do I do next, which is meeting the spouse and the field training and going through the share list, so on and so forth. Once that happens, is your business. If you're licensed, it's the 4th step, how to write that business out, right? The growth, safety, and so on. That is knowing your client. If the client wants an opportunity, they come on board, understanding that process. That is your business. Now, this Trello is understanding, step 2 is knowing how to track your business, how to grow your business. Believe me, Keon and a few other teams have actually been able to track and become more successful in this company by having synergy and having the access there. This is a way to know what's going on in your business. It's so important for you to be able to gain access and walk someone through very clearly, rather than say, hey, listen, I need to reach out to Wendell Armani because I don't know where to go next. Your Trello is something that I look at Trello daily. That's what I do. I get up, I look at Trello, I see what's going on in my business.